Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Trebas Foundation, Darlene Marcos Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. People across the country took to the streets over the weekend for No Kings protests against President Donald Trump's policies, including in San Diego. KPBS reporter Katie Anastas says immigration enforcement and federal funding cuts were among their top concerns.
The people united will never be divided.
Tens of thousands of people gathered at Waterfront Park Saturday morning. They held colorful, homemade signs expressing support for immigrants, workers, and democracy. Some were there to protest recent actions by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Leticia Rodriguez came to downtown San Diego from Chula Vista.
There's people being taken without due process, people being sent, quote-unquote, deported to countries where they don't belong. So many things that are happening that it's just a very scary time to be living right now.
Others called for stronger gun safety measures. Nikki Faddick handed out flyers and buttons with Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America. She's worried about the Trump administration's efforts to weaken the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives.
The Trump administration has been rolling back some of our progress on gun safety, professing to be combating crime with, rolling out the National Guard, when in fact they have been actually making it easier for criminals to get guns, dismantling the ATF, some of the gains we made with the Bipartisan Savers Community Act, and stuff like that.
Protesters walked from Waterfront Park, down Harbor Drive, and back toward the county administration building. Another group started at Civic Center Plaza and joined them. Mark Grace held a sign that read, "Hands off federal workers." He works at a local military base and was furloughed on October 1st.
Luckily, my wife and I were in a stable financial situation, but many of people aren't, and those are the people that I'm worried about.
He and Rodriguez said the turnout on Saturday gave them hope.
We are all American. We are all here for the same reason. And I think it shows a lot of the unity that we actually have. I think a lot of people don't see that there's other people that feel the fear, that feel that this is wrong. And I think being out here today gives me hope.
Many participants carried signs urging people to vote yes on Proposition 50. It could give Democrats an advantage by redrawing some congressional districts in California. Supporters say it's a response to Texas redrawing its districts to give Republicans the advantage. Opponents say voting no would keep redistricting nonpartisan. The deadline to register to vote is midnight tonight. Election Day is November 4th. Katie Anastas, KPBS News.
Prop 50 was a motivating force at the No Kings protests in California. It will continue to be a big topic in the weeks leading up to November's special election. Coming up, more on the resources being poured into the campaign on both sides of the measure that would redraw California's congressional map. A California Highway Patrol vehicle was struck by artillery shrapnel Saturday when a shell exploded prematurely over Interstate 5. KPBS military reporter Andrew Dyer says there's a reason the Marines don't normally fire howitzers over the freeway.
The 155-millimeter shell was supposed to explode miles away, inland on Camp Pendleton. The Marines were going to fire dozens to celebrate their 250th birthday and the visit from Vice President Vance. The CHP vehicle that was struck by shrapnel was actually part of Vance's motorcade. 15,000 sailors and Marines enthusiastically greet Vice President Vance after several hours under the midday sun. He told them the days of leaders injecting politics into the military are over.
Now, when officials try to shift focus to mandating diversity quotas or they try to inject partisan politics into the American armed forces. They impede the Marine Corps' ability to do its best work.
Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth talked up his efforts to eliminate diversity programs across the military.
The truth is, your diversity is not your strength. It never has been. Your strength is in your unity of purpose.
The amphibious assault demonstration that led to the shutdown of the 5 freeway was held several miles up the beach from the event venue and broadcast to the crowd via video.
And 250 caliber machine guns.
On Thursday, the Marine Corps said the planned shelling would occur with all safety precautions in place and that Interstate 5 would remain open. During dress rehearsals Friday, howitzer fire reportedly rattled commuters on the freeway who were unaware of the exercise. After the state decided to close the freeway Saturday morning, San Diego Republican Congressman Darrell Issa criticized Governor Gavin Newsom in a post on X, calling the closure a publicity stunt. The Marines suspended the artillery fire after CHP notified them of the incident. A Marine spokesperson tells KPBS it's routine for Marines on Camp Pendleton to fire howitzers for training, but normally that's not done over the 5. The Marine Corps is investigating the incident. At Camp Pendleton, Andrew Dyer, KPBS News.
San Diego area Congressman Juan Vargas and Scott Peters staged a press conference this morning in front of the downtown federal courthouse to bring attention to how federal authorities are detaining immigrants. The two Democrats say they've heard reports that the number of people being held by ICE in the basement of the federal building could exceed the building's capacity.
We've had reports to our office that a number of people have been detained and held in the basement of the building far beyond any of the standards that are humane and legally necessary.
KPBS reached out to ICE for confirmation on whether detainees are held in the federal building's basement. A spokesperson did not immediately respond to our request. Both Vargas and Peters entered the building this morning, but say they were denied access to the basement facility. Vargas says agents there told them they needed more notice, even though his office notified ICE nearly 48 hours in advance of their visit. Regardless, as members of Congress, Vargas and Peters say they're allowed to make unannounced visits to conduct oversight. The congressmen say they'll consider giving more notice when they come back to inspect the building at a later date. The San Diego City Council is moving to restrict ICE access to city facilities. KPBS Metro reporter Andrew Bowen says they're calling it the Due Process and Safety Ordinance.
Supporters of the ordinance gathered outside City Hall on Monday, representing immigrant rights groups, faith communities, and the LGBTQ community. They say local action is necessary amid the growing aggression of federal law enforcement, especially ICE.
When I take my clients to their legally mandated court hearings and check-ins right down the street on Front Street, I have personally been attacked. I have had my clients assaulted in front of me. In one instance, multiple ICE agents threw my client to the ground, twisting and severely injuring his arm, dragging him into their basement holding facility. This violence cannot continue.
A key tenet of the ordinance is a requirement that federal agents present a warrant to enter non-public city facilities. That could include private meeting rooms or buildings that can be leased by community groups. Public areas like parks, libraries, or the city council chambers are not impacted because anyone can access them. Councilmember Sean Ela Rivera acknowledged the city's authority is limited, but said the ordinance will empower individuals to assert their own constitutional rights to privacy, due process, and equal protection under the law.
So if you've rented a city space and you have the right to enjoy a certain expectation of privacy there's a sign posted that says no warrant, no entry if you're a federal agent, and they blow past that sign, which they very, very well may because they don't care about the law. You have much stronger ground now to say, look, I was in a private space with a sign posted that required a warrant, and they did not respect that.
The ordinance would also extend to city contractors, prohibiting them from voluntarily cooperating with federal law enforcement. It can't take effect until the city meets and confers with employee unions. It's unclear how long that process will take. Andrew Bowen, KPBS News.
Weather headlines as we head throughout the next couple of days. Overall, I am tracking sunny skies and pretty mild conditions here, especially along the coast. So overall, it's going to be a quiet and nice weather pattern here as we head throughout the rest of the week. But I am tracking, it will be low, but I am tracking our next chance of rain. I'll have an updated look at that extended forecast coming up.
Amazon spent much of the day working to repair a problem with its cloud service used by many businesses, apps, and popular websites. The disruption illustrates how daily life around the world is interconnected by this single platform. Michael Yoshida has more on the crash and its impact.
An internet outage impacting millions of users across the world.
We've designed everything to work with this constant connectivity. And when you pull that big plug, everything basically becomes dumb.
The all-important plug that was pulled Monday, Amazon Web Services, or AWS. The internet-based cloud service hosts many of the world's most used online services, connecting businesses to people using their apps and online platforms.
AWS sits in the middle of everything. It is, all of these companies, they all have offloaded their web services, their cloud-based services to AWS, which is great because it's more affordable. It's also more scalable than they could do on their own. So that sounds great, except when it fails.
Monday, banking apps like Venmo, online video games, including Fortnite, social media platforms such as Snapchat, along with Amazon-linked smart devices and homes all affected. Disney Plus and Hulu reported outages too, while Delta and United Airlines were also impacted. In 2024, AWS accounted for 37% of the global cloud market share, according to market research firm Gartner.
Part of the problem is the more consolidation we have and the fewer sort of competing web services we have, the more of a problem this is going to be. When you can have something that's seemingly so small or so localized, have such a cascading and global impact.
In Washington, Michael Yoshida.
I'm Jeff Bennett. Tonight on the NewsHour, Ukraine turns to Europe after President Trump denies new weaponry and calls for ceding Ukrainian territory to Russia. That's at 7 after Evening Edition on KPBS.
The San Diego County Board of Supervisors will be back in session tomorrow. One supervisor hopes it will bring a renewed focus on foreign investment in the local housing market. Jim Desmond represents parts of North and East County. Tomorrow, he will introduce a proposal that urges the county to advocate for restrictions on foreign home investment, particularly near military bases and critical infrastructure. Desmond's office claims foreign investors bought $56 billion in U.S. real estate last year, with 15% of those sales in California. Political stability is the bedrock of a healthy economy. The United States is inarguably struggling with both. Daniel Enemark is chief economist at the San Diego Regional Policy Innovation Center, and he spoke with KPBS's Amita Sharma recently about the economic forecast for San Diego and the country.
So, Daniel, how would you characterize the state of the U.S. economy right now, as well as the San Diego economy?
The state of the U.S. economy is weakening. And it's actually been weakening for longer than we realized. The latest big revision, which is a typical process with the Bureau of Labor Statistics, they go back and they revise their numbers based on a more complete census of businesses and hiring and all that stuff. It was the largest negative revision in recent history. And so there were about 900,000 jobs less than we thought there were starting in April 2024, right? So this is not just the Trump economy. This is also the Biden economy. We simply haven't had as many new jobs created as we had hoped, as we had expected. And so we're already from a weaker position than we had realized, and it is getting worse month by month, unfortunately.
And how is that filtering down to San Diego?
Yeah, a lot of the factors that are driving negative developments in the economy hit San Diego especially hard. For example, the uncertainty around trade policy, right? These high tariffs. Well, in your typical Econ 101 example of trade, you think trade is country A sells apples to country B, and country B sells bananas to country A, right? Those are finished goods. But what we do in San Diego is more like co-production. In fact, the regional EDC has estimated that a typical component of a medical device might cross the border 6 or 8 times in the supply chain process, right? So when we are working so intimately with our partners in Mexico, trading components back and forth in a supply chain, we're really vulnerable to tariffs. And so a place that is engaged in as much trade as we are is perhaps more impacted than on average. Another area you look at AI is potentially undermining some entry-level jobs, particularly in the what you might call the innovation sector, which is a huge driver of San Diego's economy.
What worries you the most about where we might be headed?
I think I am concerned about job losses. I'm concerned about, a lot of the biggest impact when you have a downturn in the economy, everybody worries about a recession, right? The biggest negative impact of recession is not that a ton of people who would have had jobs don't have jobs. It's actually a pretty small portion of the workers who might be affected. It's that if you want to find a new job, it's much harder. And so when you lose your job, you spend more time unemployed. When you add to that our very high cost of living, that's a dangerous recipe. My greatest fear is that San Diego becomes Santa Barbara, a place that's really nice for rich people to live and where no one else can afford to be.
And that was Amita Sharma interviewing economist Daniel Ennemark for Public Matters. It is a partnership with KPBS, iNewsSource, and Voice of San Diego. You can see more of our stories at kpbs.org/Public Matters. 2 of California's biggest names are going head-to-head in one of the most expensive ballot fights in the state's history. And it has the potential to change the balance of power in Washington. Alex Michelson has more on the battle over Prop 50.
We can stop Trump cold.
It's the governor versus the governator in California TV ads.
Vote no on Proposition 50.
Voting is already underway.
In a battle that will largely redefine Governor Gavin Newsom's future and former Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger's legacy.
California will be very unique and very independent.
In 2010, 61% of California voters agreed with then-Governor Schwarzenegger and created an independent citizen commission to draw California's congressional lines, taking that power away from politicians.
We must terminate gerrymandering.
Ever since, Schwarzenegger has traveled the country, asking other states to do the same. This year, Texas Republicans went a different way, redrawing their districts mid-decade, hoping to add 5 more Republican seats to the U.S. House.
They fired the first shot, Texas.
Governor Newsom is now asking California voters to approve Proposition 50, which would replace the congressional map drawn by the state's Independent Redistricting Commission with this map drawn by Democrats that seeks to add 5 Democratic House seats.
This is a scam.
Schwarzenegger's only TV interview on this topic was with CNN in September, after posting this to social media: F the politicians, terminate gerrymandering.
It's a big mistake. 2 wrongs don't make a right. It's that simple.
Were you able to convince him?
No, I wasn't looking to convince him.
In this August interview with Fox 11 Los Angeles, I was first to report about a meeting this summer between Newsom and Schwarzenegger talking Prop 50.
I want him to know that we're maintaining it. And I also want him to know if we are not successful with this, there'll be no independent redistricting in this country.
He says that it is temporary. You don't buy what Governor Newsom's saying?
Of course not. Look, I've sat there in Sacramento. I've listened to the politicians for 7 years. They are not interested in giving any power to the people.
What are the stakes of Prop 50?
Yeah, I mean, the stakes are enormous.
Ron Brownstein is a longtime California political watcher. He says Prop 50 passing could boost Democrat chances to win back the House in 26, and Newsom's potential pursuit of the Democratic presidential nomination in 28.
Democratic voters see him as not only being willing, but able to push back against Trump.
These are the 5 Republican members of the House who Democrats are targeting with the new map. Among them, Ken Calvert, a Congress member from California's Inland Empire since 1993.
We're in the city of Corona, which is now represented by Calvert. And Republicans we talked to here are not thrilled at the possibility of being represented by a Democrat.
As a Republican, I don't like that. And it would be the same. I mean, if I were a Democrat, I would want my district to represent me.
No. It's absolutely no. And I have a big sign on my yard.
We find a different view in Venice Beach, one of the most Democratic areas in the state.
I want somewhere where we have a little bit more balance.
I'm very much against gerrymandering. And yet, what are we to do when they've locked up the Supreme Court?
We can't sit back and talk nicely. We've got to roll up our sleeves and fight. So yes on Prop 50.
And that was Alex Michelson reporting. Today is the deadline to register to vote and receive a ballot in the mail for the November 4th special election. If you're not registered in San Diego County, recently moved or changed your name, you can register online at sdvote.com. You have until midnight tonight. The Voices of Our City Choir helps people experiencing homelessness find community and confidence through music. KPBS arts reporter Audie McAfee takes us inside the rehearsals.
If you pass by St. Paul's Episcopal Cathedral on a Monday morning, you might hear what sounds like a faint echo of angels singing. It's actually the Voices of Our City Choir, a nonprofit that supports people without stable housing. Founded in 2016, Voices of Our City began when musician Steph Johnson connected with artists living on the streets of San Diego.
I met a woman who said she had sung in a choir in the Midwest for people impacted by homelessness. And that was when I was like, whoa, that would be so cool to do something like that in San Diego.
What started as a small choir of 12 people has grown into a community of more than 100 members.
So we sing on Mondays. On Wednesdays, we have a songwriting workshop, an art class. We have a storytelling. We have a theater relationship workshop that's going on with La Jolla Playhouse and Moxie Theater.
Last year, the choir performed professionally 18 times at events like World Design Capital San Diego Tijuana and San Diego Magazine's debut Off the Record show. They also earned the Golden Buzzer on America's Got Talent in 2020. Choir member Luis Enrique Gutierrez learned about the group through a friend while he was unhoused in Balboa Park. He says the choir helped him regain confidence.
They'll support you. They'll be like, Luis, yeah, do a solo. Yeah, Luis is doing a good job. So they make me feel like I can actually sing. Because somewhere inside of me, I'm like thinking that I can't sing. And they make me feel proud of myself.
In addition to music, Voices of Our City offers wraparound services. The nonprofit helps members with bus passes, utility and rent assistance, and other support programs. Dr. Patricia Williams, known by her friends as Dr. P, is a choir member. She says music and singing can be transformative.
Well, Voices has really brought joy. I now sing more than I've ever sang in my life. I was in many choirs as far as church and stuff, but just being a part of a community that can help others just makes the difference. It makes you smile because you can help others through being with Voices, help someone else off the street now.
Even though the choir rehearses in a church, the organization is not religious. Still, members call it a sacred space, open to anyone who wants to sing. Gutierrez encourages newcomers to join.
I would tell them to show up, especially if they think that they can't sing. We all can sing because we sing as a choir. So the person next to me may not sing that great, but my voice will amplify their voice, and next thing you know, we're all singing together.
Audie McAfee, KPBS News.
As we head into tonight, I'll be tracking low clouds near the coast. Overnight temperatures will dip into the 50s, so it'll be a mild start here for your early Tuesday morning. Across the rest of the region, we'll see temperatures primarily in the 50s, some lower 50s to the north, including 51 tonight for Escondido, 51 as well for both Oceanside and Camp Pendleton. Future track radar, for the most part, nice clear skies here across the majority of California. Now, there will be some cloud coverage slowly working its way up to the south, so we'll see increasing cloud coverage as we head throughout the day, but overall it's going to be nice and clear here as we head throughout late Tuesday and the early parts of Wednesday. But I will say there will be some rain chances in the forecast, but the rain isn't going to really develop until it moves very far to the north, so not really tracking anything as far as any accumulated rainfall here across Southern California. Overall, it's going to be a dry forecast here for your Tuesday afternoon. Lots of sunshine, some cloud coverage from time to time, but highs will be in the low 70s to the south, mid to upper 70s to the north, including 79, feeling pretty nice in Escondido. Yes, heading into Wednesday, that's when the rainfall is back in the forecast. Once again, the rain will be pretty much to the north. We're not really going to see any good chances of rain here to the south, but we will see some northerly winds bringing in cooler air here. But cooler just means temperatures about 4, 5, 6 degrees below historical averages. So overall, it's still going to be a nice forecast here as we head throughout the next couple of days. Here's an extended look at that coastal forecast. You can see sunny skies, highs in the low to mid 70s. Overnight lows will dip into the mid 50s. We'll even see some upper 50s with a little bit more cloud coverage heading into the weekend. For the inland forecast, we'll see temperatures ranging from the upper 70s. We'll see some dips into the low to mid 70s, but overall it's going to be a nice forecast. A little chilly there on Thursday morning. Across the mountains, we'll see temperatures in the 60s, but then we'll see temperatures dipping back into the 50s. Some cooler conditions from time to time. And in the desert, we'll see temperatures ranging from the 80s to the 90s.
Find tonight's stories on our website, kpbs.org. Thanks for joining us. I'm Maya Trabulsi. Have a great evening.
Major funding for KPBS Evening Edition has been made possible in part by Bill Howe Family of Companies, providing San Diego with plumbing, heating, air, restoration, and flood services for over 40 years. Call 1-800-BILL-HOWE or visit BillHowe.com. And by the Conrad Prebys Foundation, Darlene Marco Shiley, and by the following. And by viewers like you. Thank you.